As the hall filled with guests, music, and laughter, I already knew something she didn't know. This would be the day the fate of our marriage was finally going to be decided forever. 10 years ago, when we got married, we couldn't afford a big wedding. No grand hall, no luxury decor, no long guest list. It was a small, quiet ceremony. Just close family, a few friends, and big dreams for the future. Back then, we told ourselves, one day when life is better, we'll do it properly. Life did get better. I became successful. I built wealth. I provided everything my family could ever need. So when I agreed to my wife's idea of renewing our vows after 10 years, to finally give her the grand wedding she never had, she was overwhelmed with joy. It was meant to be done for love, for gratitude, for shared memories of togetherness, for celebration. What she didn't know was that this wedding wasn't just a renewal. It wasn't just a celebration. It was a carefully planned ending disguised as the happiest day of her life. I work on an oil rig. 2 months at sea, 2 months at home. Every paycheck I earned went straight to my family. Not savings for myself, not indulgence. Family first, always. I sent my wife large sums of money to start businesses she said would change our lives. Each one failed. Each time I encouraged her. Each time I sent more money. I bought a house for her father so her family would never be ashamed of her marrying me. I wanted them to be proud. I wanted her to feel secure. For her last birthday, I bought her a luxury SUV, not because she asked, but because I believed she deserved the best. People admired us from the outside. They said I was a lucky man, a beautiful wife, 3 beautiful children, a perfect life. And they were right. My wife was truly beautiful, inside and outside, or so I thought. My children were very lovely too. I loved them more than words could ever explain. They were innocent, beautiful, and full of life. Every time I looked at them, my heart overflowed with joy. When I first met my wife, we were deeply in love. When we got married, we were like 2 lovebirds, living together as one, dreaming together, growing together. She constantly reassured me of her love. She spoke passionately about loyalty, commitment, and forever. She promised to honor our vows, to stand by me in every season of life. She presented herself as a devoted wife, a woman of strong values, a partner who would never betray trust. I believed every word. I trusted her completely. To me, I had the perfect family. And every single day I thanked God for it. Little did I know, I was living in a fool's paradise, a world of total oblivion. 6 months ago, our youngest child, Davidson, fell seriously ill. It happened suddenly without warning. One moment he was fine. The next, we were rushing him to the hospital. The doctor said he needed a blood transfusion urgently. Without thinking twice, I volunteered. I rolled up my sleeves immediately, certain this was just another thing a father does without hesitation. The doctor attending to us was a senior physician I had known for years, calm, experienced, and not the type to exaggerate or panic. Instead of proceeding with the transfusion, he asked me to step aside. Quietly, he led me into his office and closed the door. He looked uneasy. "Your blood type is O negative," he said carefully. "Your wife is O positive. The child is AB positive." I laughed. I told him biology had never been my strongest subject. To me, it sounded like medical jargon, nothing more. The doctor sighed deeply. He leaned back in his chair, rubbed his forehead, and said softly, "There are moments in this job when I wish science could bend to emotions, but this is not one of those moments." He didn't laugh. He held my gaze, his voice firm, almost apologetic, and said, "Biologically, it is impossible for you to be the father." In that moment, everything went silent. My world stopped. In a quick flash of thoughts, I silently prayed he had made a mistake. But he didn't. Dr. Ray took his profession too seriously for such mistakes. I simply froze in one spot, the weight of the moment pressing hard on me. I didn't raise my voice and I didn't argue. I humbly asked the doctor to run a DNA test on all 3 children who might not be mine after all. Which nightmare begins in a hospital room? Then came the waiting. 2 weeks. 2 weeks that felt longer than the 10 years of my marriage. 2 weeks of waking up beside my wife and studying her face, searching for cracks, for guilt, for anything that made sense. At night, while she slept peacefully, my mind refused to rest. I replayed memories like broken footage. Her smiles, her promises, her vows. Had they all been rehearsed? I started noticing things I had once brushed aside. Late night calls she took outside, sudden mood swings, stories that never quite added up. Was I blind, or was I simply in love? When the call finally came, my hands went cold. I remember staring at the result, willing the words to change. They didn't. Child 1, 0% probability of paternity. Child 2, 0% probability of paternity. Child 3, 0% probability of paternity. I read it again, then again. It felt like the ground had opened beneath my feet, as if my entire life had been built on air. 10 years of loving children who did not share my blood. 10 years of sacrifice, pride, and devotion, all wrapped around lies. But my mind wouldn't rest. I questioned everything. Was I impotent? No, I knew I wasn't. So what had I done wrong? Had I failed her somehow? Was I not caring enough? Not present enough? Not loving enough? Or was this betrayal never about me at all? I waited for anger to explode, for tears to fall, for my world to shatter loudly, but none of that happened. Instead, something colder settled inside me, a silence so deep it scared even me. And in that silence, a decision was quietly born. Before I made a single move, I needed the truth. Not assumptions, not guesses, not half answers. So I hired private investigators. What they uncovered shook me to my core. At first, all signs pointed to her gym instructor, the man she spent hours with, the man everyone assumed was the affair partner. I thought that was it. But the deeper the investigation went, the uglier the truth became. The gym instructor wasn't the father of the children. He was just a boyfriend, a cover she used as a distraction. So who then was their real father? He was my friend, a man I worked with, a man who had attended all our parties, including the naming ceremonies of the children, his children, a man who had eaten my food, sitting at the same dining table with me many times and called me brother. That was the last straw. I had reached my boiling point, a point where any action felt possible. When the final investigation report was confirmed, I realized for the first time how broken I was. How many betrayals by a man's sworn lover can he endure before his life crumbles? Still, I didn't confront her. I didn't accuse her. Instead, I smiled, painfully rehearsed smiles. One evening, I sat beside her, calm and composed, as though my world had not just collapsed. I spoke about our journey, how far we had come, how much we had grown. Then I said it. For our 10th anniversary, I told her softly, I want to give you the wedding we never had, a vow renewal. Her reaction was instant. She screamed with excitement. She hugged me tightly. She thanked God over and over again. To her, it sounded like love, like appreciation, like a dream fulfilled. She went straight into planning mode, calling friends, informing family, booking vendors, and I paid for everything. The biggest hall, the finest decor, the most expensive vendors money could buy. I personally handled the guest list, her family, her church members, her friends. And quietly, carefully, with purpose, I added names she never expected. Because this wasn't just a celebration, it was a stage, and everyone who played a role in my betrayal would act their part in this unfolding drama. The hall was packed. Soft music floated through the air. Laughter echoed from table to table. Cameras flashed nonstop as guests admired the decor, the lighting, the grandeur of it all. It looked like a fairy tale. My wife sat at the high table, glowing with pride. She smiled like royalty, confident, radiant, waving gently at guests as though she were a queen being celebrated. The MC stepped forward, beaming. And now, he announced, a few words from the bridegroom, the man of the moment. Applause erupted. I stood up calmly and walked toward the stage. My wife watched me, smiling wider, convinced this was her moment of triumph. I took the microphone. Thank you all for coming, I began. 10 years ago, my wife and I got married quietly. No big celebration, no grand hall. Today, I wanted to finally give her and all of you the celebration we never had. The crowd nodded. Some people clapped. I continued. Over the years, I've been blessed with amazing friends, people who stood by my family, shared meals in my home, and called me brother. Then I paused. I'd like to specially recognize two people. I turned slightly and pointed. Our family's gym instructor, please come forward. And my good friend and colleague. Please join him. Light laughter rippled through the hall. The gym instructor stood up awkwardly. My colleague hesitated, then slowly walked forward. The curiosity in the room thickened. These two men, I said calmly, have been very close to my family. I took a slow breath. But before we go any further, there's something everyone here deserves to know. The room fell silent. 6 months ago, my youngest child was hospitalized. A routine medical check raised questions that led to DNA tests. I turned slightly and gestured to the screen. For transparency, I will only show you the results. The screen lit up. Davidson. 0% probability of paternity Michael. 0% probability of paternity Jennifer. 0% probability of paternity. A collective gasp swept through the hall. People leaned forward. Some covered their mouths. Others whispered in disbelief. I faced the audience again. None of these children are biologically mine. My wife stood up abruptly, her smile gone, confusion washing over her face. The gym instructor turned pale. My colleague stared at the floor, unable to lift his head. And for those wondering who the real father is, I continued evenly. It is this man standing here, I said, pointing at my colleague. The one I trusted, the one I called my friend. Then I turned to the gym instructor. And this one, I added, was not the father, but the accomplice, my wife's boyfriend. The hall exploded into chaos. My wife screamed and began to run toward the stage, her expensive gown dragging behind her. In her panic, she stumbled. People rushed forward to stop her as she struggled, crying and pleading. Her family shouted in confusion. Guests stood up from their seats. The music had long stopped. I raised my hand gently. The house has been sold, I said. The cars have been retrieved. The divorce papers are ready. I looked at my wife one final time. The truth is no longer private, I said quietly. It belongs to everyone now. I placed the microphone down, and I walked out. Outside the hall, the noise faded behind me. As I stepped into the night, one question echoed loudly in my mind. Did I go too far? Was this justice? Or was it cruelty dressed as truth? If you were in my position, what would you have done?